Mm. All right, all right, all right. Shalom, 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 Sister Deborah, prophetess in the wilderness. And you know what? That's all right with me. Coming again on this Deborah platform with another message. And I will say this is a lovely early morning in which the Most High, higher has made. And I, Sister Deborah, shall and I will rest therein. I, Sister Deborah, is coming to you with a message that's going to shake your spirit and anger the flesh. So it's going to shake the spirit, but anger the flesh. Now, when I say the flesh, those who worship in the flesh with the carnal mind versus those who worship in spirit and in truth. And what I'm saying is this here. Right now, I'm going to let you know right now, I'm full of the Holy Spirit, which is the Ruach HaKodesh. And when I speak of full, I'm on fire. You guys, I am on fire. Okay? I want to cover a topic which he gave me about 6 topics. When I tell you all, it is so important that you have a relationship with the Most High, a higher in spirit and truth, because he forever, ever, ever bringing light to me so bright. Even though the light rests therein, he's forever brightening that light that rests therein. And I love that idea, but I be like, am I the only one? No, I am not. Oh, no, you're not. Even though I'm sure back in the days, the prophets and the prophetess back then felt alone because it wasn't that Ahia gave them someone on their left and their right that can equal up to them. No, he never did. Never did. Because he knew that if he had to lead a prophet and the prophet had to hear his voice, either the prophet going to hear his voice or the voice of man, or either the prophetess going to hear his voice or the voice of a man, her husband, her brother, her father. No, Ahia needs his prophets and his prophetess that he has anointed and appointed from the heavenly level to hear his voice. And I just thank him this morning because he knows that he gave me more than my flesh can handle. I'm telling you, you guys, I am on fire. I want to first start off with the topic that he gave me about Adam. And I want to let you kind of, he started off with dealing with serving the flesh in the carnal mind it has an issue. Then that was way in Corinthians, and then I said, wait a minute, you took me to Corinthians to Genesis 6 when you end the word. You took me to Genesis in the beginning. Where are we going? It's because he was birthing so much in me, you guys. I'm loaded with the Ruach HaKodesh right now. I am on fire. Now, the first one I'm going to give you is, this wasn't planned, you guys, but I got to put it out, y'all. I'm just that bubbling. I figured, okay, if I put this out, maybe he give me more, but let me get this out. Okay, he wanted me to go to Genesis in the chapter 3. When Adam and Eve had committed the sin. Eve was killed by the serpent, by the Satan, and Adam was present right there. It's just like saying if my husband was right here next to me, and we both entertained, we both standing in the midst of the garden of knowledge of good and evil. Okay, now the Satan is entertaining Eve, and Adam is right there, who was given the first commandment and the first law, which is instructions and directions. In Ahia, he wants me to let you know, law and commandments are instructions and directions in his sight. So Adam was given instructions and directions, okay, by Ahia himself. So it's showing you that before Eve was, Adam is in the garden. He has been given the commandment and the law, as we want to call it today, which is simply instructions and direction by Ahia. And he was even giving him the consequences. Okay? So that one that was giving the law, the instructions, and the consequences were now standing before the Satan, entertaining what he was saying. Now, I want you all to understand this. The Father took me somewhere so deep with this here. I was like, wow. Then it made me feel sad. I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry because I saw something in the Garden of Eden that I never seen before. You all, I saw grace and mercy right before Adam. Grace and mercy was standing there right before Adam, waiting for Adam to own this, to own what I asked you not to do. Own this thing, Adam. And the reason why I think the spirit of the Ruach HaKodesh is teaching me this today, he wants me to know that I have, let me get I out the way because it makes me think of flesh, that he have shown me how to stay in my lane. And he gave me a message on that too. And he was saying that as long as you stay in your lane, you're staying in spirit and truth. You're staying in that which is righteous before the Father. And he was sharing with me Genesis chapter 3. I said, I'm used to going in the perfect will and riding on that. He said, I'm going to take you where the perfect will turned into the unrighteous will. Okay? Even though it's my will, which is the permissive will. And in the permissive will, I saw something I never seen before. The Father took me there and he suffered me to see as he was ministering to my spirit where grace and mercy rest right in there. Let me go there. When people don't want to, and I see now where the grace and mercy was there and how even then, he that was given the charge of the instructions and directions and the consequences still today rest in that carnal mind, that mind that caused one to only see. He said they don't even need a strong delusion. They are already walking in that path so heavily to where they can't see spirit and truth, Deborah. They see exactly what Adam seen in the garden because it was in him. So that same Adam yesterday, rests in the men today, he says. That's what he's telling me. It rests in them. Let me take you to a place that he took me today. Within the last hour, he took me to a place I've never gone before. And he took me back to the Garden of Eden. And he took me a place in the spirit realm that I never given it a thought. And when I got to that place, I began to see something that I've never seen before. Yes, he's been with me since I was 4 years old. And here it is, I'm 62, yet getting light. I'm getting brighter and brighter in him because I thirst for what is righteous. I don't thirst to hear a man's loud mouth. I thirst to hear the Father's voice that's resting my spirit. If I'm not able to hear the spirit of Yah in me that is greater than the voice on the outside that I may hear, then I cannot be what the Father has called me to be. So I take heed and always listening for the voice of the Most High, Ahia, versus the voice of a loudmouth man. Because the loudness can override the voice of a quiet Father in heaven. The voice of Ahia can be quietened and numb to the spirit if you got a loudmouth man teaching you the things that are carnal and flesh. And over here, Ahia trying to get you to see the spiritual of it. And you keep going to this end saying, no, I like to hear the flesh part because it satisfies one's flesh. I want to take you to the realm in which I'm still in. I'm full of the anointed right now. I'm on fire. So I want to take you to where Ahia took me with this here, and then I'm going to come back and do another video and another video in the spirit of where I'm on fire right now. Okay, he was taking me to Genesis chapter 3. In Genesis chapter 3, Ahia was wanting me to take me a place I never gone. So because he has suffered me to go there, I want to take you there while the fire is kindled in me. That rock is on fire in me. So I want to take you there. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 7, and we're going to go to 7, 8, 9. We're going to go all the way down to 13. Let us read. And the eyes of them, I want you to take your highlight and see them both. Both and the word them letting you know it wasn't talking to no one. It wasn't talking when it says the eyes of them both. Okay? He wanted you to know that the eyes of them both were open, as if the eyes of the both were open, meaning it was clearly seen what they had done. Where? In their spirit or in their flesh. Eyes, when it has an S behind it, that means in their flesh. The both of them, meaning Adam and Eve. He didn't separate Adam and Eve in this. When Eve entertained, he didn't separate Eve from Adam or Adam from Eve. They were both in the midst of the tree of knowledge and good and evil, entertaining it. Okay? Now, he says in verse 7, the eyes, meaning the flesh, of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked. Now they're seeing everything clear in the flesh. At one time, they were in the spirit. Perfect. But now not the higher, but they have stepped in to the flesh in full force. Their eyes are now seeing the flesh side of everything. Okay? And he said the both were open. And wait a minute, the eyes of them both were open. And they, you see the word they, y'all? They knew that they were naked. Now you see the both of them, not them, the both. The eyes represents the flesh. And it says here, and they, not just Adam, knew that they were naked. Why? Because now they seeing out of the fleshly eyes. Okay? And they sewed fig leaves together and make themselves an aprons. So now in the flesh, they are able to create things to cover themselves, because now they see each other in the flesh. See, at first they were in the spirit. And the Father is saying to you all out there, see, men sees the flesh and desire to live out of the flesh. But Ahia said when they were naked in the spirit and didn't know nothing about the nakedness of the flesh, they worshiped in the spirit. They were perfect. But the moment they taken the knowledge from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, their eyes were open now to the flesh. And look how they working on recognizing the flesh by being naked. Their eyes of their fleshly eyes were open. They now see their bodies as naked. And they even sewed leaves together. To what? To make themselves aprons. Aprons. So where was these aprons covered? The lower part. Because that is really what they was really observing about each other. Their nakedness at the lower part. This shows you that when people teaches you in the flesh and give honor in the flesh and worship and authority and control in the things of the flesh, they become only fleshly material. Their eyes are only open to the things which is in the flesh. Notice him, Adam and Eve made themselves aprons. Now you know what an apron is. It can cover from this end all the way down, and it ties up in the back. Let's imagine The both of them covering themselves in the place. They wasn't covering their legs and their arms. They were covering themselves in the place that flesh, always even to today, in a high level, a high level that's taking out men's mindset today, lust. So they were covering the outer man in certain areas. You didn't hear them saying putting anything on their feet or their arms or their legs. They were putting an apron. So you know what an apron looked like. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. It's only covering certain places in front. Okay, so that I just added that as he's giving it to me as I'm speaking. But I want to show you all of that was at a point where they recognized the outer man, which is their flesh. And they began to cover that which was on the outer them, outside of them, okay, which was the flesh. Now, listen to this. And then, verse 8, and they heard the voice, there go they, of Ahiah walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Ahiah among the trees of the garden. Oh, now they're hiding themselves. What is on you that you feel you need to hide? What is it you're trying to hide? See, this is the flesh, y'all. They trying to hide their flesh because now they have taken what he asked them not to take of, and now eyes have been opened to see the flesh of who they are. And now they're hiding from the one that seen them before they was present, the one that created them, the one that sees all things. But you see the mindset of the flesh of humans? How can you think that you can hide from him that placed you there? Created everything and handed it to you. Told you not to do this and not to do that. Gave you the consequences, but now you in the garden hiding for the one that told you if you take of it, this is what would happen. This showing you the intelligent of a man in the garden. Wasn't good at all. Wasn't good at all. You're hiding from who created everything in the garden, even the trees. You see what I'm saying? So if you look at it, you got to see what Ahiah is getting ready to take you. Watch this here. In verse 8, and they heard the voice of Ahiah walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Ahiah among the trees of the garden. This is not intelligent for a man nor a woman, but I'm speaking to the one that's hiding because they know who gave him the order. So he's hiding. That's not intelligent for a man. And he said that's how it is today. They think the things that they do in their flesh and in their carnal mind, Ahiah is okay and permitting. He said they still thinking what they do on the outer man is acceptable, and not knowing it was when you was in his perfect will was in the spirit. But when you start clamming on the outer man, then you step in a different realm, which is now fleshly, worldly, carnal. Okay, now watch this here. And they hid themselves from the presence of Ahiah among the trees and in the garden. Can you really hide yourself from the one that put you there? Think, y'all. Come on now. Come go with me. Come walk with me. I'm in the spirit right now. I'm highly high. I'm on fire. Now watch this here. Verse 9. And Ahiah called unto Adam. Wait a minute. Hold up. Father Yah, in chapter 3 of Genesis, verse 7, it spoke of them. Hold up. In verse 9, it says, he called to Adam and said unto him, where are thou? See, he didn't say, where are them or you all or Adam and Eve. Notice he only speaking to one. See, men wants to be kings, leader, rulers, controllers, and want so much submitted under them to give them the flesh power. They ain't thinking, wait a minute, do I want the flesh power over the spiritual power? You're doing a trade. You can only have one of them. You can't have both. You can't have both. So, Adam, and he says in verse 9, Adam said unto him, the Father said unto Adam, where are thou? See, he already showing you, Sister Deborah. I'm going to say Sister Deborah because I'm in the spirit. They see Deborah. I asked him one question. Where are thou? And I'm looking dead at him. I already know where he at. But I'm just showing you the state of mind that the flesh of a man has. Okay? Verse 10. And he said, I hear thy voice in the garden. I heard thy voice. Here go Adam. I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and hid myself. He was what? Afraid. Why? Because he was naked and he hid himself. Nowhere in there do you see the flesh of man omitting anything toward the first commandment, the first law, and the first instruction given unto man, which was law and commandments in Genesis, was laid out to him. You don't hear him speaking nothing regarding that. What is he saying? He's still talking about how his flesh is afraid and how his flesh is naked and how his flesh hid himself. See, he's dealing with his flesh now. Okay, now watch this here. And he said, the Father, who told thee that thou was naked? Now, notice, I will try to go back up where verse 9, okay? And now we in 11. These are questions Ahiah putting upon him. Do you think he's asking him these questions? Why do you think the Father would ask him questions like this here when he already knows? He's trying to get man to omit what he has done. That's where you see the grace and mercy. I had no idea that there was so much grace and mercy still yet poured out to Adam and Eve in the garden after they have sinned. So when you see these things, we have wronged the Most High Ahiah in every way, shape, form, or fashion. That's why he used to tell me all the time, stick with Genesis, Deborah. It gives more bright light to any of the books. This is why. When he wanted to chastise me and discipline me and correct me in many things, he take me straight to Genesis. So when I get in trouble by the Most High Ahiah, I said, where are we going? Where are we going? Come on back to Genesis. And I know I'm in trouble. I know I'm in trouble when I have to go back to Genesis. But here I see in Genesis chapter 3 and verse 11. Come go with me, y'all. Feel this fire. Watch this here. And he said, who told thee that thou was naked? He asked him a question because he wanted to give Adam grace and mercy, trying to see, not to see because he knew it, but he wanted to tell me. See, Deborah, grace and mercy was right there with Adam in the garden. He could have just said what I wanted him to say that was righteous to say. So you're dealing right there, Deborah, with a stiff-necked, rebellion, and disobedient man that will never, ever, if he can't own up to his wrong before the throne, which whom I am, said the Father, whom himself is, what makes you and any other woman or man in the year of 2023 think a man will stand on righteous? Think that a man will stand on truth in his carnal mindset, in his fleshly bodies, in the midst of his fleshly lust and desire. He will never stand up on spirit and truth, nor truth itself. Wow. Here in 11, let's go. Genesis chapter 3, verse 11. And he said, who told thee that thou was naked? That's one question. Has thou eaten the tree? That's two. Whereof I commanded thee that thou should not eat? There's three. There's three, y'all, right there. He was trying to get Adam to own this thing. Once he got Adam to own it, then he would have did something even a little bit different. But he wanted me to see something. This, what Adam did, is the example of what you're seeing today. So he's saying, Deborah, when you're looking at these here stiff-necked rebellion, disobedient men in your tribe of Judah, this is what you're seeing. A man of Adam that never owned up to the fact that he disobeyed the one commandment and the one law, even when he knew the consequences, he still disobeyed it. He said, in the days of today, men is still living their flesh and disobeying my instructions and directions for the pleasure of their flesh. And when he meaning pleasure of their flesh, they don't want to teach spirit and truth. They want to use a book to battle and train people on. I've worked many jobs, and every job give me a book. And there were times when I went back to that book and said, wait a minute, they said we're supposed to do this, but they doing the opposite of what the book said. So the Father is saying to me, Deborah, look and see if you can see my mercy and grace. And I was like, mercy and grace? Hold up, where that come in? He said that was given to Adam and Eve. All Adam had to do is own that one law and that commandment as his wrongdoing. That's why he said he didn't create the both of them. Because he wanted to focus on the one just upholding it. Because if that one uphold it, that man uphold it, Deborah, the woman would automatically uphold it. And he said, even to today, that's another reason why they battle her. It's because they go back and find just reason to put her under their feet and give her, charge her to pleasure them, to give them the things of their flesh, to do the things of their flesh so that they can be feeling like they kings, leader, and ruler. Even though I have not made them kings. I have not made them rulers, Deborah. I have not made them leaders. Why? Because they're in their land of their captives. So all they need to be up under is me. My leadership. And once they up under my leadership, their family would go up under their leadership. He's talking about men. But they don't want that, Deborah. They want their flesh desires. They want every authority on the earth to bow down to their flesh. And they have no spiritual nor truth that they are walking in, nor have they submitted to. So this is what he said. He said, Deborah, you didn't see it, but I want you to see grace and mercy. The reason why I'm asking Adam these questions, and I ain't want to hear from her. I ain't got nothing here to say to her. Because I didn't give her the instructions and direction. All she could say, wait a minute, you didn't tell me. Adam didn't tell it to me like that. Why? Because they have already sinned. So she could have actually said that. She could have actually said that. Because Ahiah never told Eve that she wasn't supposed to touch. Because touching something doesn't cause you to sin. But taking it in and eating it and bringing it into you, meaning entertaining it here. Touching it is one thing. Entertaining it is bringing it into you. Your thought pattern, all down in you in spirit and in your flesh. But touching it, you can't get nothing through touching. So what did Eve get that? That lead me to understand that something happened in Genesis chapter 3 when they were standing before the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Something was taking place already before they before she even entertained. Something had already taken place because she told the serpent, we are not to touch nor to eat. Now, see, a lot of people would say when Sister Deborah, she had to touch it to eat it. No, she don't. She can touch it without eating it. She can desire it here without touching it. She can take it in here without touching it. So what is Eve talking about? He said, go back, Deborah. Did I tell Adam not to touch? I said, no. So do you see where a lie has already been embedded? Because I didn't say nothing to Adam about touch. But Eve said that to the serpent. He said, we are not to touch, nor to take of or to eat. He didn't say that. He didn't say that. So see how you can have a desire without even touching it. Let's use porno. Men can watch on television all this porno without putting their hands on it, without touching it. Because they're entertaining it here. So, but what Eve was talking about when she said touch? Ahiah said in Revelation chapter 10, the mystery is given to his prophets. Truly. Only the prophets, the true prophets, is given the mystery. Not those who man made their prophet, told them they prophet, or they told themselves they prophet. But the prophets of the Most High Ahiah, called, appointed, anointed by his spirit. Now here in Genesis chapter 11, I started to cry because I said, Father, you asking him all these questions. You asking for only. Ahiah in verse 11, he was asking Adam the question so that Adam can tell the truth. Praise the mighty Yah. I said, Father, he said, Deborah, that's what you call grace and mercy. That is what you call grace and mercy. He was trying to explain to me, don't battle with these men in the ways of their flesh. There's no winning. They have battled him in the garden. They have never owned up to their fault in the garden. We don't know what Adam told Eve. We know something was an error because he didn't tell, Ahiah didn't tell Adam, you are not to touch. He said, you are not to take of it. Eat. Take it in. You're not to entertain it, really. That's really what it was about. Because entertaining has nothing to do with touch. Praise the mighty Yah. Think, y'all. Let's step on this thing in spirit and truth. You see, entertaining the serpent had nothing to do with touch. So what was Eve saying? That's what's left for me, not for you. The one that he has given the mystery. And the mystery is the both of them were standing before the serpent, entertaining him here. So this is where you see touch, where you see the flesh of man has touched, has put something in. You see what I'm saying? Okay, now, Ahiah wants me to show you all where his grace and mercy was at in Genesis chapter 3, verse 11. And he said, Ahiah said, who told thee that thou was naked? Own that thing, Adam. Own it. Who told you? Has thou eaten of the tree? Have thou eaten it? Have y'all entertained the tree? Own that thing, Adam. Own it. Whereof I commanded thee. He didn't say I commanded them. I commanded you, Adam. I commanded thee that thou should not eat of it. Have you eaten it? Have you taken it? Have you, wherein I told you not? Have you taken it in a sense? Adam never did own up to it. He didn't own up to the questions that Ahiah was presenting to him and him only. Why? He didn't want to own that. He didn't want to own his sin. He didn't want to own and repent. He didn't want to do anything. And the Father want me to tell every woman and man out there, Don't feel lonely and excluded if you're not caught up in all these people who's getting a lot of likes and subscribers and praise. Don't get caught up in that. Don't get caught up feeling that you're not included in a higher because you're not included in them. He said they are worshiping the carnal mindset, their flesh. They're not serving him in the spirit. So don't get caught up in all these people on these platforms feeling that you are not who you are in him because you ain't appealing to be like those that are not in him. Because here in Adam, the first Genesis chapter 3 in 11, the Father wants you to see his grace and mercy was giving Adam a chance to own that thing, and he never did. So women and men, the men of today will never own up to spirit and truth. So don't look for them to teach, preach, lead you, guide you in anything spirit and truth. Because if Adam didn't do it, and the Father himself presented him an opportunity, look at verse 11. He's asking him the question, don't you know the Father already have the answer? When he was looking for him, he already knew where they were. He wanted Adam to speak it. Adam spoke that he was hiding, that he was naked. Now it's time in verse 11, own that sin. Own it. Shame the devil. Shut him down, Adam. Own it. I'm giving you mercy and grace. Right now, Adam, own up to it. Woman, stay over there. I ain't talking to you. Man, own that thing. Come on with it. Own that sin. Repent to me from breaking my law, my commandment, and my consequence. Bring that thing on down to me. Own that thing, Adam. Adam ain't going to own it. Adam ain't going to own it today. That's why I thank the Father for bringing Yeshua HaMashiach. Because if not, no man will see the new Jerusalem. I thank the Father for such an awesome plan before the foundation of the world. I thank him for that. Now listen to this. In verse 12, and the man said, see, he never owned it. See, grace and mercy was in verse 11. Y'all look at grace and mercy in verse 11. That's what the Father was showing me. He said, Deborah, there go grace and mercy. I said, where is it at? You see all them questions I'm asking him? I'm waiting for him to tell the truth. And he gave no truth to the matter. Now watch it here. And man said, the woman thy gave it to be with me. Wait a minute, what you mean? What do that have to do with you owning, being disobedient? What does me giving you the woman have to do with you being the only one I gave the charge to? I gave the one commandment and the one law to, which is instructions to the direction. And then not only that, I told you the consequences. What are you telling me about what I gave you? He ain't owning it. He ain't owning it. And the Father wants you to know this is such a powerful message because he brings it to the prophetess in the wilderness to help ease the fact that don't you get out of your lane for nobody. Man searching their left and their right to be justified, clarified, and identified for their sins. The conscience of guilt is on them so heavy. They're trying to seek a place in another man to justify their carnal mind and their fleshly way of living without the spirit and truth. It is over for them. That's exactly what Adam did. He's looking to and fro, seeing who he can pin this thing on. Grace and mercy set up in verse 11 said, come on, Adam, come on with it. Just say it. Just say it. Just say you disobeyed me. Just say it. You sorry. Just repent, Adam. Come on with it. Adam didn't come with it. What did Adam come with in verse 12? And man said, the woman thou hast given unto me. Wow. So who is he blaming first? The Father. Did not Father say if they blame you, it's because they blame me first. See, y'all didn't know they did you. Oh, yes. When they blaming these women down here, it's because they blamed the Father first. And then they blame the woman. And now they're living in their flesh. And that's why they hating on the woman so bad. Because they portray into the world that they love the Father. Hallelujah. But their actions shows you that they still blaming woman. And Ahia says in Genesis 2, I'm on fire. Yeah, but they blame me first. Then they blame woman. And this is what you see in the world today. So when you see these men killing Deborah, they trying to kill off what Adam wouldn't even own up to in the garden. His wrongdoing and his sin. Even after grace and mercy is here today, they still ain't owning that wrongdoing, that sin. They still is not owning up to their iniquity, their sins that they're presenting before the Father with no shame in their game. They still trying to worship the flesh and give it glory and honor. And they doing a good job leading all the men to the broad gate. An excellent job. But listen to this. In verse 12, it says, and the man said, the woman thou gave it to me to be with me. Now she's with him now. To be with him. You see, she didn't give her to him to be his sexual toy or be under his foot. She's giving him to be with him side by side. As the perfect will in Genesis said, y'all gonna do everything together as one. You see, it's a lot of things telling them what they talking about today is not of y'all, but they're going to walk in it anyway because the beginning was like unto the end. Even after the Messiah has come. Why is it after the Messiah has come? It's because they did it to the Father in the heaven. They did it to him in the beginning. Now here it is. Let me cover this. And Genesis chapter 3, verse 12. And man said, the woman that thou hast given me, she gave me the tree, and I did eat. Notice he said, she gave me the tree. The Father want you to recognize something in there. What is the Father? The Father is give and gave. That's one of his characteristics of really who he is. That's really who he is. So when you're trying to find love and you can't mimic it, it's because you have to find it in give and gave. Look what Adam says in verse 12. And the man said, the woman whom thou gave it me. See how he used gave it? The Father wants you out there, women and men, to know that saying gave it him. Now listen to this. To be with him, she gave me. He's not only talking about the Father giving him woman, but the woman gave him, and the woman gave him the tree. First of all, I want you all to understand. The tree was not fruit for the flesh. Okay? It was coming after the spiritual man through the flesh. Okay? So therefore, the garden with the tree of knowledge was giving you something here, not here to eat. It was giving you something here. So if you was present with her, whatever it was giving her, it was giving Adam. So happened, I believe, that it had already given Adam. And Eve, the reason why she was speaking in the midst of information that was given to her, and she was desiring more and more information, I believe because Adam sat with her because he had already entertained. Okay? Now this is what I feel in my spirit. I don't care what you said and what you thinking. Because the truth be told, when she said touch, the Father told me years ago, you got to tap on, you need to step into that. Because I didn't say that. So where did that come from? So, okay, now in verse 12, you see where it says, gave it. He told the Father, you gave it. You gave it her to me. And she gave it me the tree. See, no owning. No owning up and saying, wait a minute, you told me not to. I did what you told me not to. Forgive me. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. No repentance. Ahia wants me to tell you that's what's in the flesh of Judah today. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. And they try to lynch on and clip on to the ones that came down as the seed connector to the Messiah. They can't. They can't hook on to Moses, David, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They can't hook on to them. They were the seed strictly from the heaven, branded with belief, faith, righteousness, and fear. They were already branded before they hit ground. Before they was in their mother's womb, they were already branded from heaven. You are not branded. You are not branded. Because you should know if you were branded when you was a child, walking with a higher, being taught. So right now, Yeshua HaMashiach come. And the HaMashiach is the power of the Father's right hand that ushers you the Spirit of the Father. Now he's greater in you than he was branded in Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Moses, and David. Now he's living in you. That's how powerful it is. So if you don't know that you have him, just tarry for him. He would light you up, and he would light you down, so you would know. But you got to find yourself in a place with him, tarrying. And in that tarrying, you're hoping, you trusting, and you're thirsting for truth. Not taking this stuff off these platforms. Now listen to this. Right then in verse 12, I want you to circle, and thy gave it to be with me. See, he blaming the Father for giving him her. And then he said, and she gave. Circle that. So you see, you gave it, and she gave. Both of them gave him something that he still today blame without understanding. He the one that broke the law and the commandments. It couldn't then be upheld, and it cannot now be upheld through the flesh of man. It can only, but Adam and Eve, they had perfect in them, so they could have upheld it. But because heaven knew their destiny before the foundation of the world, when he sent them down, when they were molded in their mother's womb, they were already predestined to run straight into the tree of knowledge and good and evil. Okay, now watch this here. Verse 13. And Ahiah said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? Now there he go asking her a question. What does the woman say? The serpent guiled me and I did it. She owned that curse. Not that curse, that sin, that wrongdoing. She owned it. I did do it. You didn't see her say, and I gave it to him. She said, I did eat. You don't see she said, I gave it to him. She said, I did eat. I did eat. I did take of it. So she owned that she entertained the serpent. Man left woman hanging. Just like he left many women right here with the children, the household. Men have left 7, 8, 9, 10 children to follow the flesh of a man's understanding, the flesh of a man's wisdom, the flesh of a man's knowledge, the flesh of a man offering them to be a leader, a ruler, and a king by having women submitted under them, and offering them his kingdom. That is not of Yah. Nor can you find that in Deuteronomy 28. Everything that they have formed cross out the curse of Deuteronomy 28. And the reason why I realize they won't go to the Deuteronomy 28 end game, because they have crossed it out to try to make it a lie. They don't want to face it. Where they at, what are they trying to reach is Babylon. Not the Babylon, the tower. Babylon. They trying to reach the tower. They building their kingdom here on earth. Because they already know after this is over, their destiny, and they need to take as many as possible with them. And Ahiah is suffering it to be so. Just like he gave the instructions and directions to Adam alone. Today, he's letting the men know, I've given it to you and you alone. When I made her, I gave her to help me to you, for you, so that you all can meet my will. And that was to bring life forth. I never intend for you to measure or to look at a woman because I set her out there as naked. So it's your flesh that's looking at a woman, that desiring a virgin, that desiring to be a king, a leader, and a ruler. That's fleshly. That's worldly. That's carnal minded. It show up. It holds no purpose in the spirit. So I, Sister Deborah, have to end there, but I wanted to show you how she owned it. But he didn't own it. He said everybody did something to him. And that's what made him eat. She just owned it as the serpent. And I did eat. Him, oh, I ain't finna do that. You gave her to me, and she gave it to me. He still didn't own up to the serpent. I want to say this to you all that the Father gave me today. Like I say, I'm full of the Spirit right now. I'm on fire. He showed me something that was really beautiful. He showed me, Deborah, my grace and mercy was in the garden, even after they had sinned and began to hide and try to get away from me. And I see all things. My grace and mercy was there, still having compassion for them, to the point I didn't want to say woman. I don't want to know where you at. You with him. I don't even want to know you. I want to go to the one that I gave the charge to, because I need him to own that thing. And he did not own it. And the Father said he walked away with not owning it. So I say unto you, women and men out there, you all need to own your wrongdoing. If there anything left in the hour in which we are in, said the Father. He said we're running up in the minutes of that hour. If you have not owned your iniquity and your sin that is within you so heavy, you have not owned that thing. You have not brought that sin and all of that carnal mind and that fleshly thought into captivity, and you have not brought it to the level where it belongs. Trampled, stepped on, so that the righteous of who are higher can live on in you. If you have not owned that up, and you feel it's more important for you to lead, to be a king and a leader and a ruler, and have the authority over another flesh of a man, you feel that flesh should submit to you. He said he gives you that as he had given it to Adam to speak. That which thou hast given me, she caused me, and I did eat. Blaming everything else without looking within. The Father said, this is it. I told you, he said, he's not coming back. What you're going to hear is what you hear now out of the mouth of Yah. He's coming through his prophets and his prophetess. He's not coming through pastors anymore. He's not coming through apostles anymore. Father Yah. He's not coming to Moorings and seers and watchmen anymore. He said they hold not his mystery. For this day they hold not his mystery. Revelation chapter 10. He explained to them that when that angel get ready to blow that trumpet, it's finished with Yah. But he said it has been given the mystery to the prophets. He's letting you know what it was yesterday, like it is today. So a lot of you all are going to and fro, searching all kind of people on these platforms, trying to get justified, clarified, and identified in your flesh. I'm coming back with some very powerful messages. Ahia is revealing you. And he ain't revealing you to everybody else. He's revealing you in you. He letting that conscience get ate up from the floor. And once that conscience is ate up and carry not no repentance, no change, especially no repentance before the throne of the Most High. Oh, wow. Oh, Shalom and shalom. And I say that to those who hear the voice of a prophetess in the wilderness. Shalom and shalom.